Good morning and welcome to Espresso with Erin and Sarit. Today we will be talking about the ATM method and what does it have to do with your success as a high performer. Our guest today is Aaron Heim, co-founder of Life Aid Beverage Company, and he's on a mission to help you cut the crap out of your beverages. Fun fact, and Aaron, I'm not sure if you know about this, but you are kind of the reason that Erin and I met, and she's my wife today. So obviously, Erin had something to do with a little bit of a huge change in our life. And you know what? If you're here today, then maybe he will help you to change your life in one or maybe more than just one way. Who knows? But hey, today's
I am
episode.
somewhat of a matchmaker. What was it? That was an event. Was it Wadapalooza or?
It was your VIP party at Wadapalooza, yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
That's where we met.
Good,
It's
good time.
crazy. It's crazy how things work out. But
Yeah.
today's conversation is going to get super bubbly. Erin, I know that you're up to so many things. So thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure. Thanks, Reed.
So, you know, obviously, Fit Aid. By the way, who in here had Fit Aid before? Give us a thumbs up and drop a comment. Erin and I were huge fans of Fit Aid, and we even have a fridge in our house. But you know what makes it different is that it's got a story and a purpose. And though we're going to be talking about the brand and the drinks, it's always really important to understand the story that got you to creating that idea. So, you know, how did fitness change the trajectory of your own life?
Well, I've been involved with fitness since the earliest days. I mean, going back to high school, I was kind of a pipsqueak, like super late bloomer. I still have my license I got on my 16th birthday. It says 5'3", 101 pounds. If you can see.
No kidding.
So I had to have a booster chair to pass my driver's test license. But obviously, I was motivated to put on some weight, and so started, training throughout high school, and finally had a growth spurt in college, and I was a personal trainer for years, a sports chiropractor for 10 years, and so very much involved in health and fitness pretty much my whole adult life.
Cool. So, okay, let's dive a little bit deeper into that. So, normally, I don't think that anybody gets to into fitness by accident, right? And for you, was it you seeking more self-confidence in yourself because, like you said, you're like, I was short, I was skinny, like I wanted to put on some mass so that I could feel better about myself?
Totally,
And
totally.
at what age did you start, doing fitness?
I got serious about it when I was 16. I didn't really grow much until about 19.
Got it.
Yeah.
And then you said you started personal training. Was that in college, after college?
Yeah, in college, started working with some clients in chiropractic college for sure. And I always loved being, in the gym, working with people, seeing people progress towards their fitness goals. Had a small supplement company for a long time, so really enjoyed working with people. So it was a natural progression to go to chiropractic college after that. Just, I love being very hands-on.
So when you went to chiropractic college, you knew that that's what you wanted to do.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I originally thought I was going to be a lawyer, and then as I started interviewing all my attorney contacts, not one of them was happy that they had made that decision. So sorry for any attorneys out there, but the impression was very one-sided that I got. I said, you know what, maybe I better rethink this thing, and that's when I made the decision to go to chiropractic college, because it was like, you know what, I always loved working with people. I got a lot of great benefits myself from chiropractic care, so that was a good fit for me for a period of time.
And do you think that your own personal transformation journey had something to do with your desire to go to chiropractic school?
Yeah, yeah, of course, of course. I think we're all, motivated by different things, and me being able to impact people's health and well-being and fitness, and being really good at that craft too. I mean, unfortunately, you look at, any profession's filled with mediocrity. It's sad. I don't care what profession you're talking about. It's like the 80% are just, they're average, and average doesn't cut it a lot of the time. So, really mastering that craft, and rising to the top, and like having that confidence and skill set that I knew was just more developed than anyone else, allowed me to provide a service that was super unique, and really develop a referral based business, which was amazing. To not be dependent on, traditional marketing, and just have word of mouth kind of keep the business going. And that, a lot of that translated over quite well when we started the beverage company, because we use a lot of those kind of small business techniques, and really focusing on, the customer journey, customer service, first and foremost, long before, it was kind of in fad to be doing things with e-commerce and direct to consumer.
Sure. So I love what she said about average doesn't cut it. And if you're in the room, you know that average doesn't cut it. And here we strive for excellence. But because, like you said, 80% of society is just average, right? Like that is what we see. At what point in your life did you make the connection that, hey, like, I need to strive for excellence, and like the normal is not right? Was it a specific event?
I mean, I think if you're just, I've always, one of my unique abilities is the ability to look at unrelated fields and see what's working and not working, and applying it to my own life and my own business. And, through different philosophies that I follow, and dogmas, to, business practices, and so on and so forth. And the majority are doing the exact opposite thing that you should be doing most of the time. And, not to get in political at all, but if you look at the current political landscape, you look at, all the COVID stuff going on, you look at, how many businesses have been shut down, everything, it's like the ship is going in the wrong direction. So, usually if you can kind of back up and look at things in the macro and just do the opposite of what the herd is doing, you're going to be in good shape.
Did you guys just hear this? That was like Erin just like literally threw at you a golden nugget, and I hope that you caught it, because he went at it a very fast speed. But what society does for the most part is wrong. So, maybe this is a gift of yours, where intuitively you're like, I just seek to see what's wrong and what's right, and I assess and I take action based off of that. So, I mean, I think that's incredible, and congratulations for that. But let's go back to, back in the day when you were still a chiropractor. So, I mean, obviously it sounded as if you were in a very good spot, especially, going back to the concept of average, right? Like for the average person, it's like, okay, you have a referral based business. You can obviously maintain yourself and things are good. Like, how did the idea of Life Aid come about, and taking that risk from going from comfort to I'm not sure what's going to happen? Like, what led you to that? Let's talk about that experience.
Ignorance and passion sprinkled with stupidity. I mean, I've always been a pretty big risk taker to a fault. And backing up, things weren't always just completely smooth sailing. I had a great practice. It was referral based. I did really well financially. The amount of hours I put in for my income was really very much in my favor. But of course, the grass is always greener. So if you rewind back to 2007, for those that are old enough to remember that era, I had all kinds of friends from high school, as I'm sure some of you out there did as well, that were paper millionaires, right? Everyone was making tons of money in real estate. Like, you couldn't go wrong. Everything was like stated income. And so I'm just looking at myself going, gosh, I'm really missing the boat on this one. So in 2007, I go all in real estate, and I buy multiple spec homes, sight unseen, on two of them. One of them out there in Tennessee. I think I saw a Tennessee person online. And got myself completely over leveraged. Well, fast forward a year, we all know what happens in 2008 and 2009. And so come mid 2009, I mean, I had months where I was upside down. All my projects where I was doing these new builds and stuff got stalled out. And I had months where I was upside down $20,000 a month. Because you can imagine, how long your savings last when you have 20,000 more going out than you have coming in. And I completely over leveraged myself, and I made a very difficult decision to file bankruptcy in 2009. And it really was the lowest point in my life. I mean, here I am in my early 30s. I've got a great booming professional practice. Like everything is totally lined up. I had just brought some property off the grid where I was going to build my dream house. And this major obstacle comes, and I just literally could not keep up with the amount of output that I had with all these homes and spec homes. And I just felt completely defeated, and looked in the mirror, woke up just so upset with myself, so disappointed in myself. I let myself down, I let my wife down. And I was questioning, like, this is supposed to be the prime of my life. How the fuck did I get here? How did I get here? How did I allow myself to be so reckless in my decision making process? And hey, you have two choices when things get tough. You either have a pity party for yourself, or you dust yourself off and go, okay, got to keep moving forward. And now I'm moving forward with no money and no credit, which can be very challenging, but it is possible. And so the dream house we were going to build on our property got put off indefinitely. We lived in a 400 square foot RV for 5 years with 2 kids, off the grid.
5 years?
5 years, yeah, 5
Wow.
years.
I wanted to make sure I heard that right.
Yeah, 5 years, I mean, I'm not exaggerating here. I was like literally boiling water on the stove to make a bath, like Little House on the Prairie shit. I mean, it was gnarly. You go to bed when it gets dark, you wake up when it gets light. It's just in the whole circadian rhythm of the earth. And I mean, it was a challenging time, but a pretty amazing time, and allowed me to really dust myself off, focus on work, build up just a little bit of savings again. And then, the Life Aid idea and concept came up just a couple years after that. And, I had long discussions with my now business partner and my wife, and we were all in complete alignment and decided, hey, the overall potential for this business is great. We'll be able to serve people's health needs on a much larger scale than I can, one-on-one working in my office. And so we decided to burn the ships at the shore, sell the practice, live off of that income, and start Life Aid that wasn't producing really any income at the time. And that was its own challenging period, because the person that I sold my practice to ended up tanking it after 6 months, 7 months, something like that. And so then my income from that went to zero. So then we're not getting paid from Life Aid. I wasn't getting paid from the sale of my practice. We're still living in the RV. So we're eating like mac and cheese and tuna, every night for dinner, which is a $1.50 meal for anybody that's completely broke out there. You can survive on that for a while. And, really back in that kind of struggling phase, but just really had my eye on the vision. Like, I know that this business can be successful. I know that there's a need in the marketplace for something that's cleaner, better for you, has functional benefits, not full of artificial shit like sucralose and aspartame and all these dyes and all this crap that, we're constantly putting in our body, high sugar. And so we just kept grinding at it. And, thank God it paid off.
Man, this is so powerful. I do have a couple of questions with regards to that, but I also want to make a couple of pointers for the audience. Do you guys notice that for every successful person that we talk to, they always use the term burn the ships? You have to go all in. Like, that's a common denominator. Now, Erin, I mean, for one, like, don't you feel as if there is definitely a force that's bigger than ourselves that allows you to do like things that if you were to look at it just like on a single layer, right, without looking at it 360, like what are the odds of like Life Aid actually making it? Like, after listening to the story, like it's unreal, right? Like there is a force that's definitely like stronger and bigger than us,
Totally.
for one. But for two, looking back now, how had that adversity become a stepping stone in your life? Basically getting to a point where you're like, okay, like there was no inflow coming in from this or that. I was living for 5 years with my family in a 400-foot RV. Like, what was the blessing behind that adversity?
You have to have, we all have certain dogmas that we subscribe to in our lives. We have a certain philosophy on life, and those philosophies are very easy to buy into, to maintain, to have faith in when everything is going well, right? Because life is good, and I say I believe X, Y, and Z. When things get challenging, as Ryan Halliday would say, the obstacle is the way. When you have these massive obstacles in your life, that's when your dogmas are challenged to a very big degree. That's when the rubber meets the road. And do you really believe what you say you believe all this time? And so
Mm.
I had a certain core set of beliefs. They were very much refined during this time. And during these challenging times, it's interesting. I rewind back to when I was actually a very high income earner. I still I still had a very much a scarcity mindset to a lot of my decision making process. And it wasn't until I was completely broke and living in a trailer that I developed an abundance mindset. And you fast forward 10 years after that, that mindset switch to really looking at life through an abundance lens has made all the difference in the world. I've got all these credos that I constantly tell myself, from my morning routine, what I did this morning when I woke up and before I got here, that setting off my daily trajectory to, we were just talking about before we went on the air. I mean, my house burned down a month ago, right? So not just my house, this property that I told you about that I bought 17 years ago now, that was just a deer trail that, I've been working on the last 17 years of my life, literally putting every spare penny into this property, with multiple homes for the kids to live in generationally, orchards, grapevines, lollaberry vines, outdoor kitchens. Just finished a gorgeous $150,000 tree house, 50 feet up two redwoods with a 160-degree view of the ocean. You can never miss the sunset no matter what time of year. It had abalone lined shower, and all the wood was milled from the property, and massive bars, multiple decks getting up to it, and you just, in a couple hours, it's just literally all gone. So the assumed permanence that we have of material things is a fallacy. I mean, it's all going to go away. All material things will go away. Our bodies are going to decompose. This desk that I'm sitting at eventually will be dust. Like, by definition, all material things are impermanent. They have a shelf life to them. But I'll tell you one thing that I've learned over this last month is there are things that are permanent. Our thoughts are permanent. They set our soul on a certain trajectory. The words that come out of our mouth are permanent. We can never undo this conversation we're having this morning. Our actions are permanent. They have an effect. So whatever you're thinking, whatever you're doing, whatever you're saying when no one else is around or no one else is looking, that has an effect. That has an effect on you and everybody around you. And that's kind of a big shift for me. I mean, I used to be looking at this, telling my young kids, like, hey, someday I don't want you to go in debt for housing and make dumb decisions like I did. That's going to be your house, free and clear, and you can live in the tree house, and I had these assumptions that this stuff, because I built it and it's on this land and I don't owe anybody anything, that it's going to be there forever and for generations. And that was false. But what's not false is, being very mindful about the inputs that come into our mind, being guarded, standing guard at the gates of our mind, not allowing garbage in because then it allows garbage out. Like if you have television, if you're listening to, CNBC or Fox News, fucking cut it out. It serves no purpose. Those dogmas are based on scarcity. Those dogmas are based on the the herd mentality, being complete asses and just following wherever these extreme viewpoints want to go, when the rational majority of us can agree on most things. The rational majority of us are kind, compassionate people. The rational majority of us want what's best for other people, want to see people uplifted, not cut everybody down like these extremes would make you think. But our country is not that polarized. We're being polarized because you're plugging into the matrix and they're telling us not only what to think about. The news used to tell us what to think about. If you think about it, go back to when there was actual news, but now it tells us what to think depending upon which dogma you subscribe to. So just unplugging from that and being, a loving, rational human being and say, well, what makes sense here? Make your own decisions for your own body. Keep your immune system strong. I've never had a flu shot because I've never been afraid that the cold or flu is going to kill me, because I keep my body healthy. I keep it strong. I know that what I put in my body is a direct reflection in how I show up in the world. So I don't put shit in it, and therefore I don't get sick. So it's not part of my fear. That fear paradigm is not, I don't allow that into my life. And it's not just from that perspective, but anything, if you look at it that way. So it's time to really, I think that we're going to have an awakening through this process, through COVID and everything. We've got these extremes going on right now. And, there's going to be an awakening towards doing what's best for you and your family, working on your own body, creating an inner temple, supporting your community, supporting your tribe, coming back to peace. Like when the pendulum swings so far to one direction, it's got to swing back the other direction. I'm very optimistic, even with all the shit going on.
Man, for one, that was incredible. Like you just dropped the mic big time. You guys, let's give him a proper heart.
Is anybody has anybody else been nodding their head for like the last
10 yeah,
minutes?
like you just went so deep on that. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. Okay, I want to ask you a question with regards to core values, because you talked about that. What are your core set of beliefs?
Well, it's funny that you say that, because I was just revisiting them. So I write everything down. Mm-hmm. Primarily because I like to talk once in a while, and if I have these great ideas, if I don't write it down, I won't remember it. So writing everything down has been critical for me for a long time now. And I was just revisiting, some of my core values, because I go back through my notebooks about once every month or so, and sometimes I'll go back a couple years. Where was I at then? Where was my head at? What was I writing about? And I wrote down some things, recently, and I'll just read a few out. And I wasn't planning on this, but I put number one: the obstacle is the way. Okay. Mm-hmm. I wrote professional habits versus amateur ones. Which are you practicing? Is this a pro or amateur move? Ask yourself that constantly. All material things by nature are impermanent. We talked about that. Permanence exists in our thoughts, words, and actions. Life's biggest lesson is in learning how to let go. Keep moving forward. Trajectory over velocity, which we can talk about. What are you doing when no one else is looking? Be kind to your future self. Talk about health and spiritual well-being, mental well-being. Be kind to your future self. How questions create resources. Why questions create criticisms and blame. Focus on the outcome you desire, the outcome. This is a quote from Abe Lincoln. You can complain that the rose bush has thorns, or rejoice a thorn bush has roses. I like that. Be an energy charger, not an energy drainer. the easy thing to do is the easy thing to do.
This is gold. This is gold.
These are Erin's thoughts on paper.
This is so good.
Something else, but I can't read my writing, so I'll end it there.
Side question before we move on. What is your favorite book?
Ooh. My favorite book, a book that I actually recommended for my kids, and if you haven't read it, you should read it, just because when I was younger, I used to really downplay psychology. I was an econ major, and it's very much into like, okay, the sciences and going to chiropractic college, getting my science undergrad. And psychology to me, I thought was just complete hogwash. And now that I'm a little more mature, I realize that everything is psychology. So there's a book by Dr. Cialdini, Robert Cialdini, called Influence, The Psychology of Persuasion. And it is fascinating. It is fascinating. It basically breaks down why we do, what influences us to make the decisions that we make. And being aware of that is so, so important. So you are not being unethically manipulated by external forces.
I love it. I love it. The Psychology of Persuasion.
Yes.
Amazing. You guys, I mean, I want to talk a little bit about your company and what you're about, but like, I think you've already got a gist of like, this is the core values of this product, right? Like, it's incredible. So let's talk a little bit about the mission behind Life Aid and what you're all about. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you've touched on it a little bit throughout the time here. I mean, in a very macro sense, getting our kids off the high sugar, overly caffeinated, artificially laden, sports and energy drinks. I mean, the big beverage companies in this country and globally have gotten a free pass for poisoning our kids for over 100 years now. I mean, enough is enough. I mean, diabetes rates are on the rise, not going down. Chronic diseases going up. Chronic inflammation is a significant problem for everybody. And it's due to lack of exercise, shitty diets, lots of sugar in our beverages, in our food, artificial ingredients, etc. So just taking a cleaner approach, getting people off the soda, off the energy drinks, onto something that we can stand behind, that checks out it is efficacious, it's clean, it doesn't have the artificial ingredients and colors and dyes and all that crap. So, it's an uphill battle because sugar is a drug. It's addictive. Caffeine is a drug. It's addictive. So try to come at a natural products against truly addictive products is challenging, but we're up for the challenge. People are waking up. I think a lot of people, and especially in kind of my age category and above, are going like in for their annual checkup, and the options are, hey, you got to get in shape and you got to get off the crap, or you're going on medication. And nobody wants to go on medication, so you're going to take control of your health, and that's really what we're all about, is having a clean option for people to make that when they're ready to make that conscious decision to get off the crap.
I love it. And, before we move on to another question, for anybody who hasn't tried any of the Life Aid products yet, and I mean, Fit Aid is the most well-known one, but you guys actually, like, there's Golfer's Aid, there's Focus Aid, there is Immune Aid? No.
Immunity Aid, yeah.
Immunity Aid.
Party Aid, I mean, it is
Party
right.
Aid, that's right. Where can they find these products?
Well, if we're not sold at your local gym, I mean, all the Whole Foods, Sprouts, Vitamin Shop, Walmart, Kroger, Safeway, Target now. So, yeah.
That's awesome. Congratulations on that. That's huge. Like, you've really, you keep on stepping and taking over the market, and that's amazing. So congratulations on that. But, obviously, you guys can see that Erin is a very successful entrepreneur, and in your entrepreneurial journey, you came up with the ATM method. So I want to touch up on that a little bit. Can you share with us what does it stand for and the impact that it had on the success within your own life?
Yeah, I mean, a couple of years ago, I was traveling and I went to the ATM to get out some petty cash, and it just kind of hit me like, life is an ATM as well. If you follow an acronym and the the kind of ATM philosophy, it will always continue to pay you out, like pay you dividends, both financially and otherwise. The A stands for alignment. And it's really the bedrock. If you strip everything away, and I think about this kind of thing a lot, and I mentioned it earlier, like, what are you doing when no one else is looking? Like, if you really dissect that, like, what if everything you did showed up on the front page of the New York Times? Would you be okay with that? If you're not okay with that, you're not living in personal alignment. So alignment starts with you as an individual, with all of us, right? And making the right decisions for ourselves, even when there's no consequence outside of ourselves, meaning no external eyeballs. Being in alignment with your significant other or your spouse, right? You have to be in alignment there, being in alignment with your business partner, with your team. So really making sure that you're coming from an authentic place, that you're in full and total alignment most of the time. And I'll give you a good example. If you have stress in certain areas of your life, or chronic stress specifically, that typically is an indication that you're out of alignment in that area. Okay. So if you look at an area like, oh, that my relationship's always stressed, that means you're not in alignment with that person. So look for areas of chronic stress or repeated, problematic areas, and say, how can I get back in alignment there? If you're not in alignment, it's impossible to do anything beyond that, because it creates friction. That gap creates friction and stress in our life, right? Does that make sense to everyone? The T stands for trajectory. So many people, and I work with a lot of young entrepreneurs, and it's like, and I'm the same way. I'm not a patient person. I've been forced to be patient, especially right now with what's going on. But the T stands for, trajectory. A lot of people focus on velocities. How quick is things happening? I start my own business. I want to, be retired yesterday. Like, you're so focused. I start my fitness journey. I want to have already lost the 20 pounds or get in better shape or be able to snatch this or whatever it is, right? Everything in life is a process. By definition, all processes take time. So focus on doing the right things, focus on the fundamentals, focus on the building blocks. All processes take time. Do not cut corners. I said earlier, the easy thing to do is the easy thing to do. There's a reason for that, right? Like, it's easy to hit the snooze bar, but now you're not in alignment with yourself because you made a contract with yourself. I'm going to wake up at this certain time. Like, I made a contract. I'm going to wake up and be on this podcast. If I didn't show up, that would be out of alignment with myself and the commitment that I made. That'd be out of alignment with Erin and Sarit. So doing what you say you're going to do, laying those foundations, focusing on the trajectory. And guess what? The velocity will come. You will get that break. You will get the breakthrough. You will get the funding. You will get the strategic partnership. Whatever it is in your life that you're looking for, as long as you're doing the right things and you're doing them consistently and focused only on trajectory, the velocities will come. And then the M stands for momentum. And anyone who's been around the block a few times can attest to this in business and life. And I don't like to separate the two, because there is no work life and personal life. It's just life. What happens at home affects you at work. What happens at work affects you at home. It's all life. There's no separation. But momentum, we have momentum in life. Like, you're waking up, you're doing your morning routine, you're in the gym, you're eating clean, blah, blah, blah. And then you're like, I'm hitting my goals. I look good. I feel good. I'll sleep in today. Or I'll start eating a little, eating like crap a little bit. Or I'll hit the snooze bar. I won't be true to my obligations, or whatever it is. You stop doing all the little things that created the momentum in your life. And guess what? And anyone who's been in a relationship knows this. I still suffer from this. My wife will tell you I'm horrible. When you first start dating, what are you doing? You're out there, you're schmoozing, you're buying flowers, you're sending little sweet texts and phone calls and date night and all of these things that created this amazing connection and relationship. And then fast forward a few years, you stop buying flowers, you stop doing the sweet text, you stop leaving the handwritten notes, and the relationship suffers. You lose momentum. So when you have momentum, there's a concept in physics called the coefficient of friction. And basically what it means is it takes more energy to put something in motion than it does to keep it in motion. Okay. Think about that. Like if you're, say you got a car in neutral and you got to push the car, that first amount of effort's much more difficult than once you get it going, then you got that momentum and you can keep it going. This is life. Like when we have momentum in life, we got to continue. We have to continue to do all the little things that got us that momentum in the first place. So, that's the ATM. Alignment, personal alignment with everyone around you, trajectory over velocity. And when you have the momentum, keep it up. And a lot of that has to do with, I always think of it as like I've got, my guardian angel on one shoulder and, the little demon on the other. And it's like, what forces are you allowing? What's your repetitive head talk like? And because there's no neutrality here. It's like a salmon swimming upstream. You stop putting in the effort, and the tide, the force of the river is going to take you right back out to the ocean. You got to keep putting in the effort. You can't let the devil take over and fuck up your whole head talk, or else, throw everything out the window. So be an observer of your own mind. And if your mind is filled with soft talk, if it's filled with negations, you need to really be conscious of that and start turning things into affirmations and into in speaking in the affirmative. If you find yourself saying, well, I can't do that, or I won't do this, or I shouldn't do that. No. Focus on what I am doing, what I will do, right? If you're practicing soft talk, maybe I'll make it to the gym in the morning, or I might start my new diet today, or I should do this. No. What are you doing? What will you do? Get rid of soft talk, get rid of the negations. They don't serve us at all. All they're doing is subconsciously opening our mind to do the very thing that we're trying to avoid. Okay. So
Preach it.
Yeah.
Preach it. I love it. Okay, I want to ask you a couple of questions. So obviously we are a byproduct of our habits, right? And so far we've talked a lot about mental habits, right? Questions that you need to ask yourself, right? I mean, the alignment, trajectory, and momentum analogy. I mean, I freaking love it. But can you tell us a little bit about what does your morning routine look like? And also if you have an evening routine, how do you start your day, and basically how do you end your day?
Yeah, I typically wake up at 6. I'll do a few things, and part of it's a little disheveled because I'm virtually homeless right now for another week, but I still got out the yoga mat, and I'm still being true to my morning routine to the most extent that I'm is possible. But I'll fill out the 5-minute journal. Okay. If you don't have the 5-minute journal, I would buy one. They're like $15 or something. And it's basically gives you a quote for the day. And then you fill out 3 things that I'm grateful for, 3 things that'll help make today great, and 1 self-affirmation. Okay. 3 things that I'm grateful for, 3 things that'll help make today great, 1 self-affirmation, an I am statement. And then I'll do some Wim Hof breathing, which is hyperoxygenating my bloodstream, getting my blood very alkaline, and I'll hop in the shower and I'll slam the water on cold, right? So I'm basically doing a cold plunge in the shower. I'll do a short morning prayer. I will make myself some like very keto coffee with some MCT oil and some mushrooms and ashwagandha and some other things. Kind of help jumpstart me and really good for mental focus. Um, I'll typically go for a walk and walk down to the beach when we're in the office and do a deeper round of Wim Hof breathing. And when I was taking my son to school, they're all remote right now, but I'd have him in the car, and I would highly suggest anyone that has kids out there do this as well. Have them just verbally recite to you at least one thing. Three can be a little tough for them, but at least one thing that'll help make their day great, and or one thing they're grateful for, one thing that'll help make their day great, and one self-affirmation. And then when he would get out of the car, we'd both say together a mantra. Today is a fabulous day filled with opportunity and potential. And then I get into the office and I'm ready to rock and roll. So, oh, I'm sorry. And also one thing that I've incorporated over the last probably 12 months, which has been huge from some of my chronic injuries, I'll do about 15 minutes of yoga as well, specific like, low back, hammy, quad protocol, which is really helpful, especially if you've got more of a desk job.
Man, I love this. Do you guys notice how like you're changing your physiology to prepare for the day? And what you do with your son is really freaking cute. And I'm taking notes for the future as well. Because kids are a sponge, and you're basically setting him up for greatness. Thank you for sharing that. Do you have a routine to close your day as well?
Yeah, the 5 minute journal is a nice way to wrap things up, because then you'll write down three amazing things that happened today and what could have made today better. And then I got something from a good friend of mine, Jesse Elder, which I was, I've had some struggles with sleep where I'm just sort of a super light sleeper, not necessarily, and then it takes me a little while to get to bed. And this one little shift has been interesting, like literally thinking to yourself, how do you want to feel when you wake up in the morning? And answering that question in your head, how do you want to feel when you wake up in the morning? Like, I want to feel well rested, or I want to feel energized, or whatever it is. It's interesting. It kind of sets on a little subconscious trajectory, and it's really helped with sleep as well. So that's typically how I'll wind it down. I'm also DJing these days, so
You are?
I'll typically put a little music on and then work on some tracks and stuff. I've got a gig coming up in 2 weeks. So.
Where at?
We're all getting COVID tested first, but I throw a party. I've been throwing a party at my house up on the compound for, this will be the 8th year in a row. We get about 100 of our closest friends, and it's usually like 25 DJs, and just an amazing party and connection. It goes for 3 days, and a lot of great house music and tech house, and the property's burned. There's literally nothing left. All the trees are gone, and we lost like 1,500 trees, and so the party was going to end this year because there wasn't a place. And one of my friends stepped up and said, hey, the show must go on. So, we're going to throw it at my house this year, at his house, which isn't too far from my place. So I'm obviously going to spin there. And then a group in San Francisco called Unison, that's been doing a monthly, reached out and said, hey, we want to live stream on one of our stages, you guys. So I'm DJing through a collective called 3 Degrees, which is part of my Burning Man camp, and Unison, which is the big SF collective. And I'll be live streaming my set on Saturday in a couple weeks.
That is freaking awesome. And by the way, nobody does parties like you. Just saying.
This is true.
Nobody does it like you. Okay, being as successful as you are, it is important to, like you said, you basically, you create your own rule book and you hold yourself accountable to it like every day, all day, it seems, which is incredible. Now, you have to stay focused in order to keep moving forward. And I can only help but to assume that in order to do that, you probably have some guidelines with regards to some boundaries that you set for yourself, be it like socially, mentally, physiologically. So can you talk a little bit about some kind of boundaries or like examples of how you set boundaries with regards to certain situations in order to keep on staying focused and moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think it really goes back to, well, let me first address, the whole term of successful, because when people say, oh yeah, you're successful, I'm like, that doesn't register with me. It probably should. I should give myself some permission there, but I mean, right now I'm like living in an RV, and my whole life's work at the property is burned down. So I'm like, okay, well, you know, successful is not a marathon finish line. You're like, go, 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 go. And then you cross the finish line, yeah, I made it, I'm successful. Like there is no such thing. So there's a good exercise out there that I'm actually going to I'm just reminding myself to revisit right now, because I'm struggling a little bit right now with everything. But it's a friend of mine, D. Jackson, said, I do an exercise where you write down, I know I'm being successful when, and so kind of living success, knowing that it's not a finish line that's arbitrarily drawn somewhere. When I get X amount of money, I'll be successful. When I get this job, I'll be successful. When I lose this weight or gain this weight, I'll be successful. We know that's total bullshit. So I'm being successful when, my family's all under one roof, and we're laughing together around the dinner table. Like, I'm being successful when my team and my business partner, and we're all in alignment. We're all nailing our quarterly OKRs and really humming it to the degree I know that we can achieve. So that exercise, I think, is important when you're like dealing with success, because a lot of us are living success in certain aspects of our life, and we're not really giving ourselves credit for that. As far as guardrails are concerned, I think, really focusing on, whatever mantras that you have, and making sure that it comes back to being in alignment with yourself. Like, I know I love Haagen-Dazs ice cream, but I know that if I go and eat the whole tub, I really feel like shit. My body is so sugar sensitive. And when I'm in that moment of pain and suffering from my whole body freaking out from all the sugar, then I know that I've made decisions that are not good for my body. I know better than that, right? So playing out the golden thread, I guess, is a good example. It's like, if you have a habit and you know that it's not serving you, or is destructive by nature, play it out. Like, what happens if I just continue to do this? What happens a month from now, a year from now, 5 years from now? And then you realize, like, wow, that is not where I want to end up. And it really starts with this decision, because so often we have guilt or we have anxiety in our lives. The guilt is based on shit that happened in our past that we can do nothing about. It already happened. There is no changing that. Come to peace with that. Whatever decisions we've made, we're living with those consequences. There is no cause and side effect. It's cause and effect. I fucking hate the drug commercials. Side effects include, there's no such thing as a side effect. It's cause and effect. You take the drug, it did this to your body, like, period. There's no, oh, these effects happened. No, it's an effect. So whatever decisions we're making, it's creating consequences. Our thoughts create consequences. We've made those decisions, deal with them. Do not have stress over shit that happened in the past. If we're having anxiety, we're having anxiety typically over future events that have not occurred yet. So ground yourself in the present. All that we have is this moment, right now, the thought that's going through our head, the words coming out of our mouth, the action that we're taking right now or inaction, your choice to be on this call this morning. You chose that. You woke up early. You chose to get on Zoom. You chose to dedicate, part of your morning to listening to us, jabber on. Like, everything's a choice. So recognizing that I am in control, I have power here, and I may not be always in control over external forces like my house burning down or this or that, but I am in control in how I react, how I respond to that, right? Um, I was reading something from one of my old notebooks the other day. Let me see if I can bring it up. It's basically said, you know, you have we're always going to have these external forces that happen in our life. We always have pain. Pain is inescapable in life. We have pain from the youngest age. We learn to run, we fall, we eat shit, we scrape our knee up. Like, pain is inevitable in life in all aspects, but we choose to suffer. Suffering is a choice. Okay. And the suffering is the story that we're telling ourselves in our minds. And I'll tell you what, you start telling yourself a victim story, a victim mindset. Oh, COVID, and oh, I got laid off, and oh, it's all everybody else's fault. It's Trump's fault. It's whoever's fault it is. It's never gonna serve you. Being a victim has never served anybody ever. The pain is there. It's going to be there. Embrace the pain. Give yourself a 5-minute pity party, but don't give yourself too much longer than that, because then you will get caught in a suffering, spiral. And that spiral only goes one way, and it's down. So, it's not easy. None of this shit is easy. And again, the easy thing to do is the easy thing to do. Like, none of this is easy. But I'm telling you, if you have some discipline around this, you really develop the morning routine, you can go from being totally bankrupt, which I was totally bankrupt, to 10 years later being in a much stronger position in every aspect of your life, because you've changed your habits, you've changed your thought process. And the nice thing is, it's trippy. I've been thinking about, like, we have a belief system. We all have certain dogmas we live by, right? So much of this belief system, these dogmas, were created between 0 and 7 years old. So thank you, parents, for setting me up, fucking me up in some way, shape, or form. But, basically, all these repetitive thoughts in our mind are based on, what our parents did or didn't do between those early impressionable ages when we're all in just download mode. So we have this belief system. That belief system drives our thoughts, these repetitive thoughts in our mind. Our thoughts drive, our communication, both verbal and nonverbal, the words that come out of our mouth. Our communication drives our actions or inaction, and our action or inaction produces results over time, right? Does everyone kind of follow this? Results over time are reinforcing our belief system. So I've seen this even with some of my siblings in my own family that have gone into like victim mode very early in life. Everything that is happening to them in life is reinforcing this victim mindset, and then it goes around and around and around. And how many people have been out there with people? It's like they're always complaining, they're always in a victim mindset. Nothing's ever going their way. They're always boohoo. It's fucking the sky is falling constantly. It's a fucking energy drain, right? So how do you break this cycle? Because if you go back to what I said earlier, this was all given to us from our parents between 0 and 7. Like, how do we break this thing? And there is a way to break it. We can control two aspects of this cycle. We can control the words that are coming out of our mouth and our actions. I used to say a lot when I was younger. It's kind of a stupid 20-year-old thing to say, but I used to always be a big believer in like fake it till you make it. Fake it till you make it. Has anyone heard that before? But it's actually powerful if you think about it. Fake it till you make it. Because what happens when I fake it, if I'm like communicating a certain way, like, hey, I'm a big high roller, I'm a big baller, even though I'm fucking broke and deep in credit card debt. If I'm communicating a certain way, it produces a certain way that I hold myself in certain actions and the way people respond to me. And then over time, that's going to open up opportunities and give a certain result. And that result is reinforcing this thought process that I have. Then the negative thoughts that I may be having can turn to positive thoughts that even more reinforce the words coming out of my mouth and reinforce my actions. So the ways you can break the cycle is kind of fake it till you make it, right? It's like, even though I might feel like shit or I'm having these negative head talk, when I'm communicating, how are you doing? I'm doing great. Yeah, no, I like, even if you're not doing great, like I just have been going through all this because I was devastated by my whole property burning down. I mean, I wish you all could have been there at some point. I mean, it was just so gorgeous. It was, everything was done by my hands, and like literally every spare penny that I've had over the last 10 years, I put into this property because I'm like, this is the one permanent thing. The stock market goes up and down. This is the one thing I can invest in that will always appreciate. Fucking wrong there. So it was like, I was so devastated, and my whole posture, everything was like Eeyore, it was Debbie Downer. And I had to snap out of it. I go, you are not a victim here. I got interviewed by Forbes magazine during the fires, and they knew my house burned down. They're asking that, what's it like to be a fire victim? His first question. And I said, let me make something. Sorry, it's still.
Oh, good. Let's show him some love. Come on, bring it up, bring it up. We appreciate you so much.
Still very fresh.
Sure.
Wound. I said, let me make something very clear. I am not a fire victim. I'm a fire survivor. And if fire thriver didn't sound too weird, I would have, I told him that as well. Like, I know that it doesn't serve me to go down the victim rabbit hole. So I have to consciously and consistently remind myself, like, hey, this is another obstacle. Some obstacles are big, some obstacles are small. The only opportunity for growth that we have in life is through obstacles. When everything is going hunky-dory, when everything's going smooth, we do nothing different. There is no challenge to our decision matrix. There is no challenge to our routines. There is no challenge to our communication style. Because what human nature is, when everything's going great, don't do anything different. Don't want to fuck it up. Like, everything's smooth sailing right now, right? Just kind of keep cruising. And there's no growth that happens there. There's no growth when everything is good. The growth only comes when we have these big obstacles that are put in front of us, and we have the opportunity to react. And that reaction, external force plus reaction equals outcome. So I choose the outcome. The outcome doesn't choose me. The external force does not choose the outcome, because the outcome is only driven by external force plus my reaction. So I choose my reaction, therefore I dictate the outcome. So knowing that, it sucks. It's fucking painful. But at the same time, it's like, I have to embrace this challenge with open arms. I mean, I think, my whole adult life has been lessons in letting shit go. We accumulate all this shit, and I have no idea why. Like, it all is going to be gone eventually. So it's better to learn the lessons of letting go early in life. And that's what I told my kids. I said, look, you're getting a lesson that is so valuable. I'm learning, a third of the way through my life. You're learning right at the beginning of your life. This is going to serve you well in the future. And I'm sorry that you're having to go through this pain right now, but it's gonna be a positive thing, and we have to believe that. Tony Robbins has a quote that I love. He says, life is not happening to you, it's happening for you. Life's not happening to you, it's happening for you. And that mind shift is powerful because it takes you from being a victim to, being the captain of your own ship.
Man, man, this is so powerful. And it's just, I think this is now my favorite conversation because there's just, you're taking us through just so many valuable lessons and you're being so humble and vulnerable about it. And, that just shows how courageous and grounded and in alignment you are. So, also, in order to turn it back around for you, we know that a great technique to practice when shit goes sideways, because hey, you know, shit happens to good people all the time, right? And we tell our students that all the time, like, that's why you have to plan in advance, because you're just one day away from having shit go sideways. But let's talk about the grand vision, like your life 5 years from now. What does that look like?
Well, I'm gonna, really rebuild and create V2 of my property, even better than V1. I mean, that's, where my vision's at right now. I will make, not want to, I will make, Life Aid a household name. We're going to get a lot of people off all those garbage drinks that they've been accustomed to and onto, a cleaner alternative. My kids will be responsible, aware, young adults that are doing good in the world, that are positive influences on everyone around them. Um, and I will, continue to evolve and progress and be a better version of myself. I forget who it was. I think it's like Matthew McConaughey. Maybe I think it was him that he was interviewed, and they always said, "Well, who's your hero? Who's your hero? Who are your heroes?" And he would always say, "Myself 10 years from now."
Oh, yes. Yes. I love it. We're all on a journey.
It's a journey. It's a struggle. Life, life. It's constantly throwing things at us, from little things to big things to little annoying comments to someone cutting us off on the road. We don't know what struggle those people are going through. We don't know what pain is in their lives. I remember when I was such a fucking hothead when I was younger. I'd get someone cut me off. I'd get so pissed and try to speed up to them. I remember my dad said to me once, he's in the car passenger, and he said, "What if that person that just cut you off was rushing their wife to the hospital because she was in labor? How would that make you feel?" And I was like, "Whoa, okay, no, I mean, yeah, like, scoot over, make room for them." And he's like, "That could be the case. You don't know. Like, you're making a set of assumptions based on the bullshit that's going on in your head when you're not taking into consideration what's going on in their life. Everything is in situ, in situations. Everything's situational. So we can't go through life letting external forces just totally dictate our repetitive thoughts and throw us off course. Like, control what we can control. Don't worry about the external forces. Always assume the best about people, and just keep moving forward. That's the only choice we have. Just keep moving forward."
I love it. I want to just ask you one last question to close it off. Let's say, somebody walks up to you on the street and they're like, man, Erin, like, you're a huge inspiration and so much has happened to you, but I'm in this situation and I want to start my business. Like, if there was like one tip that you could give me, I have a great idea. I'm just not sure, like, what I need to do. What would be the one tip that you would give them?
Well, I'll give two tips because I can't usually shut up, as you have been witnessing the last hour. Uh, Number one is, the value is not in your product or service. It's in your list. It's in your tribe. So really work to develop a tribe. Work on your list. because when you have a group of people that know, like, and trust you, it doesn't matter what your thing is, what your widget is, what your service is. They want to be around you. They want to do business with you. So the value is in the list. So provide value to other people, do for them, and help them out any way that you can, and create that list and that tribe. And then number two, make sure you're thinking accurately about your product or service. So many times I'm looking at a business plan, or I get pitched an idea, and it's like, okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. Oh, totally inaccurate here. And in business and in life, you need to have 100 things kind of lined up and humming in those repetitive practices that you're doing. And one thing super out of alignment, or one thing that's super inaccurate in your thought process, can really sink the whole ship. So make sure that you're accurately thinking about the product design, demand in the marketplace, margins and price point, distribution, the sales cycle. Like, there's so many things specifically in business that you look at, and everything has to be in alignment. And quite frequently, people are inaccurate in their thinking, or in one or two of those 100 things, and it creates a non-starter in business. So make sure that you're accurately thinking. I think it's a big one. And I look at all my previous businesses, and I had a lot of little kind of side hustles. I had an eye drop company called Irie Eyes Eye Drops, where I sold eye drops to stoners, and I had certain success, but I was really inaccurately thinking. One of my most inaccurate things is that stoners would give a shit that their eyes are red. They typically don't. So that was inaccurate. But I could go through like all my past businesses and really look at the lesson in inaccurate thinking and go, okay, I won't make that mistake again, and carry it forward. So, regardless of wherever you're at in life, you're where I have faith, and you have to have faith. I believe that you're exactly where you need to be right now, not necessarily where you want to be. I'm definitely not where I want to be right now, but where you need to be. And if you humble yourself enough to be like, okay, I'm where I need to be, whether that's the obstacles, whether that's, the finances are coming in strong, or they're thin, or whatever it is, you're where you need to be. I believe that you needed to be on this call this morning, and therefore you're here, right? Like, you are where you need to be in life, and pay attention to the signals and the signs. Like, our intuition is so powerful, and good intuition mixed with discipline can go a long way.
I love it. All right. Well, look, I feel like we can speak to one another all day, but the truth is, you've got a lot of shit to do. For anybody who wants to get more info, whether it's about you or about your products, where should we guide them to?
Yeah, for products up, the website's always great. LifeAid, AID, lifeaidbevco.com. For me, if you have any questions, direct message on Instagram's probably the most efficient way to get a hold of me. It's just my name, Erin, Ron Hind, Hinde.
I think you just added a few more people to your tribe, Erin.
For sure.
Appreciate it.
For sure.
Hey, I'm struggling just like everybody else. Just, again, keep moving forward. Just really don't let the negativity creep in. And if it is creeping in, go for a walk out in nature. Focus on breathing. Breathing and being hyper present are a great way to break the negativity cycle, because when you're hyper present, like looking at the sun, the way it hits the leaves, watching the hummingbird, like completely focused on it, the negativity cannot coexist. They cannot coexist in your mind. So break that cycle, get into some positive affirmations, and fake it till you make it. Keep moving forward. Well, we're all going to be fine.
I love it. I love it. Well, hey, Erin, you're a powerful force, and you already know Erin and I love you. And I think you just added definitely more fans to your tribe. Thank you so, so much for joining us today. And for all of you guys listening live or watching or listening to the recording, thank you for listening to us as well. For more info about what Erin and I are up to, please go and visit erinandsarit.com. And if you found value from today's episode, share the love. And if you feel grateful, do us a favor and remember to hit the subscribe button after you're done listening. Erin, thank you so much for joining us. Until next time.
Thank you all. Appreciate it. Have a
And
wonderful
thank you
day.
guys for joining us. We will see you next week. Take care.
Take care.